Hello everyone, John here. So I'm getting ready to work on my next model building project, which is going to be this guy here, the Lindberg Dimetrodon, and I want to say this was from 1979. I think this may have been previously produced by Pyro, and they just maybe I don't know the history. Maybe Lindbergh bought Pyro and used their molds or something. I don't know. But I think that's what the history is. Anyway, so another Lindbergh kit. I just recently did the Brontosaurus, and now we're going to move on to Dimetrodon. So, the thing about the Lindbergh kits, the fits are sometimes a challenge. And if you look at the design, it is clearly from an earlier age. So, not much that can be done about that. I suspect there's going to be some issues with seams and fitting that will require a lot of filing, a lot of puttying. So, we'll see how that goes. This certainly was the case with the Brontosaurus. So, we'll see how that turns out. Um, what I've been doing lately is when I look at how I want to paint them, I do a little sketch. And this is the one that I am getting inspiration from this illustration, which is a much better illustration, by the way. But this is what's inspiring what I'm going to do here. I really like, it's got kind of almost like leopard spots, but I like the coloration. I like the light off whiteness of it. So that ought to be fun. We'll see what mine turns out like. Probably not as good, but you know, each kit teaches you new lessons. So I'm looking forward to the lessons this one's going to teach. Now, in terms of the video, I'm still getting my process down. If you've seen some of the other videos, you might have noticed. So I'm tweaking what I'm doing here so that I can provide a better video. So what I'm going to do, here's going to be the process. We'll do an unboxing. We'll, so to speak, it's already been unboxed, but I'll unbox it, show the parts. I'll go through how I clean the parts to get rid of any release agent. We'll talk about assembly and puttying and dealing with seams, filing, and then we'll get on to priming and then painting. So I'm going to just jump into it here, and we'll see where this leads us. It's a whole new adventure. All right, let's just unbox this guy real quick. Here we've got our Dimetrodon kit. See if I can get rid of that glare. There you go. All right, from Lindbergh, 1979. So here we have our instructions. Pretty basic. You got the head assembly, body, the legs, and then you put it all together here. The parts wise, we'll talk about that in a minute. By the way, read the instructions, okay? I'm guilty of this too. You know, you build models for a while, you think, yeah, I know how. Don't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. But no, go ahead, read the instructions. You might find something that you need to assemble first, but before you put the other thing together, and if you do it wrong, great sadness will, there will be great sadness. I'll just say it that way. All right, so we've got our body here. This is molded in green plastic because, of course, back in the 70s, all dinosaurs were either green or gray. Here's our other body half. We've got our sailback here, some of the legs, and we've got this little quirky. I think this is a cave woman. Either that or it's a caveman with really developed pecs. I can't tell. Anyway, so, oh, that's interesting and disappointing. So the sailback is in two pieces. All right, fine. And we've got, here's our head pieces here, or one of the head pieces and a leg. Another leg. There we go. And there's the other part of the head. And the base. Now, the Brontosaurus came with a base and a separate nameplate. This one, the nameplate is molded in, which I find particularly annoying. I am not happy about that. So we'll have to see how I handle this. I suspect I'm going to paint the base first, mask this off, and spray paint it. Probably with, I've been using Tamiya TS29 for nameplates, so I suspect that's where that's going to go. So that's the unboxing, and then the next thing I'm going to get into here in a minute, or maybe in a bit, is the cleaning of the parts. All right, let's talk about cleaning these parts here. So when they make these models, they use a release agent to pull them out of the molds when they injection mold them, so that the plastic doesn't stick to the mold. So to clean that off, I'm first going to use some Windex, which I found to work really well. And then the second part of my process is just to use a squirter bottle of water to give it a second pass. And I don't think the Windex leaves any residue to be worried about, but you know, the water certainly shouldn't. All right, so we've got all the parts cleaned up, cut out, ready to assemble here. So I'm going to get to the assembly. There are going to be some parts that I'm going to need to putty before I assemble them. In fact, I think I'm going to do all the legs and the head at one time and the body halves, and then go through each one and do puttying and sanding and filing, and then come back and put all of it together. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, we're going to get started here with assembly, but there's one piece I'm going to do some painting on, and that's the head. I'm going to do the inside of the mouth here, because once once it's assembled, it's not going to be easy to get in there and paint. And just to give it, because I don't want it to look just like green plastic on the inside. So all I'm going to do here, I have this Tamiya X17 pink that I've used for mouths before. And so I'm just going to take some of that paint and do the inside of the head here. I'm going to do the whole inside of the head. And I'm going to do it kind of heavily because I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. Normally I'd prefer to do thinner coats, but this is just to keep it from looking wonky. So if I go a little heavy, That's okay. It may still take a second coat. In fact, I'm thinking that it may. Otherwise, I just go straight to assembly. And we are going to get to that in a second here. Go over what I've done so far. I've got the first part of assembly done. I've got all the legs done with the feet on them. I've got the sail done, the body put together, and I've got the head. Now, you'll notice I've primered the head. The reason I did that was I've got the mouth painted on the inside, so when I go to primer all of it together, I need to be able to tape over the teeth. So I've got that done. May need to go back and do a little bit more on this underside here, but getting this primered so that I can go back and put a piece of tape over the teeth when I primer the whole thing together, and that way I can preserve the painting on the inside. I'm seeing that the sail is going to be a challenge. I'm seeing a lot of things that are going to be a challenge, and a lot of things that are going to need some puttying, sanding, filling. I think there's going to be a lot of that going on here. So that's where I'm going to leave it tonight. I'm going to come back probably tomorrow morning and pick up where I left off. So that's all for now. More to come. All right. I just finished the final assembly on this, and I just wanted to make a few notes. First of all, it's not real clear which leg goes where. It took a lot of trial and error. I'm still not sure I got it completely right. But, and the instructions aren't super clear on this. So they could have done a lot better. The fin assembly, mostly okay. There's some gaps here that I just couldn't avoid, much as I tried. And the head assembly, as you can see, it's still taped up. It's still drying. Doesn't go on real well either. The fit is just not very good on this. So I am suspecting I'm going to have a little more puttying to do on this section of the tail. I'm going to have to do some putty around each of the legs. And probably once I get the tape pulled off, I'll probably see that I have more filling and sanding and filing that I need to do on the head. But the assembly is done, such as it is. So I'm going to stop here for tonight. We're going to come back probably tomorrow and continue the Dimetrodon build. More to come. All right, so more progress. I've got the legs puttied and the head and a little bit around the fin and the tail. So still learning puttying. The trick is to only put in as much as you absolutely need. Like I said, I'm still learning. More to come. All right, let's talk real quick about what I just got finished doing here. I have sanded, puttied, filed, all the around the legs and the feet and the head and the fin. Probably not perfect, but you know, at some point in the artistic endeavors, you don't get to perfection, you get to where you can live with it. And for this one, I could probably spend hours trying to perfect this, but I've got other models to build. So, but more practice putting and filling. I'm happy about that. Um, so after I puttied with the milliput, I've got a variety of different sized files that I used, flat ones, round ones, and then I sanded down the parts with a coarse paper first, and then wet sanded with a medium, and then ultimately a fine. Lastly, I went over with some Windex here, sprayed it down, wiped it down, sprayed it down with water, wiped that down as well. So this is ready for priming, or I gotta let it dry because it's still a little wet from the water cleaning, but probably in about 10 minutes I'll be able to spray paint that with the Tamiya white primer. I've also cleaned up once again the base and our goofy little caveman here. I also have this that I'm going to prime. I got this at the local hobby store. It's a Dimetrodon, just like the one we're building here. And I'm going to use this as a paint practice before I do the actual model. I did this with the Triceratops and really liked how that came out, so I'm going to apply that process here. So that's all I've got for right now. Going to prime this. I may show it primed, and then after that, in not too far in the future, I will be doing the paint job, which hopefully will be something like this illustration that I showed before. All right, well, that's where we're at right now. Let's hang out for more adventure. All right, so took a while to get to this point, but I finally have gotten this assembled. Well, let me take this off here since we're let's see if it'll come off here. There we go. I've got our Dimetrodon painted up. I'm sorry, not painted up, primed up. Painting coming soon. Probably start on that tomorrow. As far as the seams, all right. Could be better. I'm sure when I see it in the sunlight, I'll be absolutely appalled. But anyway, this is ready to paint. So is our caveman Joe here, with the overly developed pecs. Our base is ready to go. I think I'm going to do this in kind of a sand. There's not a lot of interesting detail on this. The biggest detail that's going to be the most challenging is the nameplate, which I believe what I'm going to do is paint this the way I want it and then mask off this here and then paint, spray paint that with the Tamiya satin black TS29 and then come in with some brass and do the lettering. Anyway, not particularly excited about this base. It's a wonky base. Oh, excuse me. it doesn't even cover all 4 feet. It let's see here. I think it goes like this, and then 1 foot hangs off the back. It's just, I don't know what to tell you. And like I said, I've got this little guy here that we're going to use for our test bed for the painting. So that's all for tonight, and I will do more. Probably, I don't know if I'll wait till tomorrow evening or in the morning. I'll figure it out. Anyway, that's all for now. Catch you tomorrow. All right. Making more progress. I went ahead, I didn't tape or video it here, but I did get the test model done based off of this guy, and pretty close. So it's good to do this. Now I'm not going to paint the actual model quite the same way. I think, you know, I did a dark color and then a dry brush because there was some texture here, and I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. The actual model doesn't have much texture. So what I am probably going to do is go right to the base color, do the base color, then come back and do our design. And then I think, because the design is not so saturated, and I'm thinking the way to get to that is to come back after it's painted and do a wash of a light, like ivory and gray and desert yellow. So that's where I think we're going with this. I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and we'll see where this takes us. More to come. All right. So, a fair amount's gone on since last we talked. The first thing I did was this guy here, which is based off of this illustration. Let me see if I can, so you can see it. I really like the colors on that, and so here we have this guy here, our Dimetrodon. Pretty close, not perfect. This is a little lighter. I'm thinking that, and this is a little bit grayer. So I'm thinking that maybe with a wash, this would have come out just a little bit closer, but not bad. It was enough for me to get kind of a handle on how I wanted to do the painting on this. So since I did that, I did a dark color on the base, and this is actually a second color using this desert yellow on the base, and I'm probably going to do one more pass mixing this with this ivory here to get a little lighter, because usually I like to go a dark tone, a mid-tone, and a light tone. So I've got kind of a light brown, and then this desert yellow or tan, and then I'll do the final coat. After that, what I'll probably do is I will mask off the nameplate that's built in or molded into this base, which annoys me to no end. And then I'll paint again with the same mix of the ivory and the desert yellow around the edges after I mask it off. That's kind of a trick if you're masking like on a car or something. You you have your first paint layer, whatever that color is, um, and then what you do is you mask it, paint in that same color. Let's say we have um, it's our base color is white, and we're going to do a black stripe. So you paint it, the car. Let's say it's a car. Paint it white, mask it, paint white again because it'll fill in the little gaps of your masking tape. Then you do your black stripe, and we're going to do something very similar with this. Other than that, I have done a few coats on the actual Dimetrodon model. It's still a little wet right now. So I did start with a lighter ivory and desert yellow and a little bit of this gray here. It came out a little yellow because, like I said, this illustration here, the coloration is a little closer to the gray. So then I added another layer and real thin light wash, like very watery, over this. And until finally I just went straight to this here, which is a gray tan. Again, a light wash, really watered down. And doing that so that the colors come from underneath the top color. So that's where we're at right now on the Dimetrodon. I will probably, not tonight, and maybe a little bit tomorrow, I'll go through and do the leopard pattern. Probably tomorrow, probably not tonight. And then maybe I'll also get to our goofy Caveman Joe here, which I've done nothing with other than prime it yet. So that's where we're at tonight. I hopefully will have more to show you. Well, I will have more to show you tomorrow. But tonight I'm done. Anyway, thanks for joining me. More to come. We're back, and here is the progress so far. I pretty much got the Dimetrodon done. As you can see, I've got the spots, and it's pretty close to, and I'll hold it up. Here's our original illustration, and here's our Dimetrodon. Let's see if I can get this in frame here. Reasonably close. And here's our little guy for comparison. Let's see if I bring this in a little closer here. Anyway, I ended up doing a wash over what I painted. Why is that? Oh well. That's interesting. I did not know I had that spot there. I'm going to leave it. So I had done a base coat, then I did the design, and then after the design dried, I went back over it because it was kind of too yellowish. So I did kind of a gray, yellow, white, ivory to get it closer to this. And I'm happy with that result. I think that gave me the result that I wanted. I will, if I do this kind of thing again, I will use that. I'm, with artistic endeavors, it's not so much getting to perfection as it is getting to where you can live with this. And I think I can live with this. Now, this turned out, after a little more painting, putting it under the microscope or the magnifier headset. This was not Caveman Joe after all. This was Cave Woman Josephine. And that's about as much as I'm going to do on this because the detail's not very good, and it's just, I don't think it's worth the time to get into it. I could, it probably would be good practice, but I'm stopping here on this one. All right. The only thing that is left, and I'm going to have to wait for it to dry, is the base. Now, I had painted it and then masked it off, painted it with the same color as the base that I had used or close to it, and then so that any gaps that might be in the tape, that paint would fill those up. And then I did spray paint with this Tamiya, and that's the TS29, which is a what do they call it here? Semi-gloss. I've used that for a lot of things, Batmobiles particularly. So at this point, I'm going to wait for this base to dry. I'm going to do the lettering in brass, and then I'll peel the tape off, and we'll see how well this worked. So that's the work for tonight. I hopefully will finish this up tomorrow. That's the plan. And then I've got to move all of these models out of here because I'm going to start putting in the shelves finally. That will go a long way to making this a workable workshop. So, and I may do a little video on that and how the shop develops. And usually shops are kind of an ever-developing thing. Anyway, almost done. I'll catch up to you in a bit. All right, finally we're done. I have finally finished this guy, at least as finished as I'm going to get with it. I think I said earlier that every model has its lessons to teach, and this one certainly has. This was the Lindberg Dimetrodon, and as I said at the beginning, this is Lindberg is not exactly, at least in my experience, been the best with fit. So this had some challenges, lots of sanding, lots of filing, lots of putty. As far as the painting goes, that's all on me. And I was going for something like this, and I did a test with this guy here, which is, this is just a cheap toy from the hobby shop. But a real good, this gave me some good ideas that I applied to this. And then this guy here. Now, if I were to paint this again, I would probably do half the number of leopard spots, and I would do less on the face. And I might do a little more, maybe wash or something to make the feet stand out a little bit better. Um, but I think it was a good first go at it. I think I will do this. I've got a few other Dimetrodons. I think I might go with this same pattern again in the future. It came with Cave Woman Josephine here, which that tiny, it's hard to get good detail, and I didn't. The point wasn't to work on this this time around. The nameplate I just got done. Did a dark color, base color, then a light mid-tone, then a light, and then went back with a wash one more time because it was a little bit splotchy. It's still a little splotchy, but it looks natural, so I'm keeping it. The nameplate, I had to actually paint. This one didn't work as well with the technique where you take a piece of cardboard and kind of like a stamp. For some reason, this didn't work so well. Not sure why. Maybe because the nameplate itself is raised up. Not sure. But, and I think I didn't mask it off as well as I could have. But it'll work. You can read it. Future nameplates, I'll figure out what my mistakes were there. I think part of it may have been just not taping closer to the letters. I think that may be one of the big problems. And I may have had too much paint on my piece of cardboard. But this is done. So, yay. My next project here is I've bought some shelving to put up so I can get these models up and out of the way and out of harm's way and just have a nice display. But so I'm doing that here in the next few days. I don't have all the shelves yet because the parts are expensive, but I'll have a number of them up. And then I think the next one I'm going to do is probably this guy here, this Prehistoric Scenes Neanderthal Man. And it's going to be, it's going to have its own challenge. I got this off of eBay. I don't know if you can see or not, but a lot of the parts are already painted. So like this base here is already painted. And so I'm going to be stripping it off with Easy Off Oven Cleaner and then painting it the way I want to paint it. So, all right. Well, there we go. And I am right now of the mind that I'm probably going to start my own YouTube channel called Prehistoric Kingdom. Why Prehistoric Kingdom? Because as I was collecting these, my girlfriend was like, this is your prehistoric kingdom and you're surveying your kingdom. Is like, and then we talk about how things were in the prehistoric kingdom as kids kept coming in. So, yeah, the name is sticking. So, there was one other thing I was going to go over here. Well, I guess it'll have to be saved for the next video. Anyway, thanks for joining. Oh, now I remember. And I'm guilty of it as I speak. So in editing these videos, I've been noticing that they're really long. So I'm going to work on doing a better job of editing these down. And I've come across some things, how I shoot these, that'll make it easier to be more expedient and a little more brief. and a lot less rambling. So anyway, thanks for joining me on this build, and we'll be doing the next build soon. Thanks for joining me.